Welcome to LMP Talks Wrestling. How is everyone doing in their self-isolation stations today? I hope you're all doing well given the events around the world, but here at LMP, we're continuing the wrestling podcast content. So with that, I'm just going to dive right into it. Let's introduce today's guest. We last spoke on episode 26, and he's back today to smash another one with me. So without further ado, please help me welcome back Lewis. How's it going today?
Oh, I'm back. It's all right today. A bit bored, but there's worse things going on. So
Yeah, well, hopefully the boredom can just sail away with this podcast, and we can dive into all the crazy wrestling chat that's happening this week.
Crazy wrestling.
The fact that it's still going in all of this is absolutely insane.
Yeah, and it's very different as well. You know, there's a lot of sort of ways around it, and some have been good and some haven't.
Yeah. So let's start off the podcast with asking, what have you enjoyed so far in the past couple of weeks? I'm sure you watched WrestleMania. There's been NXT, AEW, Raw, SmackDown. They've all been doing their best with how everything has been happening. But let's highlight the positives. What have been your favorite moments so far?
Favorite moment, everything in the Bray Wyatt match. I think that was just everything about it, even the bits that didn't make as much sense, like with the NWO stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because with a match that's that wacky, I think it's got like the final deletion. It's better to have more cinematic shots rather than just a standard promo in the ring. I think it works a lot better. It was the same with the Boneyard match. You know, Undertaker. It really puts over the sort of supernatural side of it, I think.
Yeah, it really was interesting. The fact that how far it went and how creative they were with it. And I've become a massive fan of this new kind of hybrid American badass dead man kind of thing. What about you?
Yeah, it's interesting because Dead Man Inc. and all that stuff, it's before my time sort of thing. So typically when I go back and watch stuff from, I don't know what it was, 2000, I want to say, 2001, typically I don't really enjoy it as much, but with that I thought it was really good. And I went back and watched some of it and it was actually all right. So made a fan out of me.
Yeah, the original about this and how AJ Styles was calling out like Mark Calloway and his wife and making it real and everything, I wasn't entirely a fan of, because I really just want, I'm being selfish as a fan, but I just want the Undertaker to be that classic Undertaker as much as possible, as long as we have him,
Oh, I was just gonna say he's one of the most established gimmicks, and I thought it was a bit silly to sort of ruin that for one match.
Yeah, but you know what? Now that they've done it, and it all came full circle with that Boneyard match, I'm very excited for this new Undertaker hybrid character. Like he scares the hell out of me in the greatest of ways.
Yeah.
What else have you been enjoying with positive moments? Firefly Funhouse Boneyard match. What about any classic matches on television, or how was WrestleMania for you?
WrestleMania was good. In general, there was a few results that I didn't agree with, like Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, but that might be a bit biased because obviously I watch a lot of NXT UK, and obviously Rhea has a lot more of a spotlight on her there. The Edge and Randy Orton match, a lot of people think that went too long, but I don't think it did. I thought it could have gone another 20 minutes and I still liked it. Basically, I've just got a lot of unpopular opinions that not many people like, and a lot of people have been quite upset on me at Facebook and stuff.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I don't understand how people can be upset over other people's opinions. It's like your opinion doesn't affect you.
It happens.
Before we started recording, we were talking about some of the NXT matches last night, and NXT has been to those who are unaware. Sorry, NXT has been doing the Tampa Bay matches over the next couple of weeks because of Mania becoming 2 nights, and last night we had a 6-woman ladder match, I believe, which was unbelievable. It was actually quite good in my
Very good.
opinion. And then we had the Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa just beat the living crap out of each other with whatever you can find match. But that's what I want to talk about first, I think, with you, and given this podcast, that discussion around that, because while it was, I think it was like 35, possibly 40 minutes last night, and I can see what they were trying to do. They were trying to do the whole Boneyard, Firefly, pre-recorded kind of match, but it didn't fully work, in my opinion. What do you think?
No, I feel the same. I think the issue was with the first two. Obviously, you've got Bray and Undertaker. They're sort of supernatural characters. There's no realism there, and you don't expect it to be realistic.
Yeah.
But there was nothing in this match that warranted it to be so sort of cinematic and, like movie style. Because obviously Bray Wyatt and Undertaker, they're doing all their teleportation stuff and all that, and all the camera cuts and stuff add to that. But it just felt a bit overproduced because it was a normal match. It just had fancy lights and an arena and different camera angles, and it didn't feel natural.
Yeah, the thing I took from it too, and perhaps this is me being too literal, but I recall Triple H saying, 2 people are going to walk in and one of you is going to walk out. And they were going to be inside this building, like he's going to rent out a building and they're going to fight inside of it. And I had that idea in my head that they were just going to be inside some sort of like shed with a ring and find whatever they can and beat the living hell out of each other, and nobody will interfere like it happened last night. But they left the building, they fought everywhere they could possibly fight, which was fun. But I was really looking forward to them being secluded or stuck inside of a building and just one leaves.
It wasn't all it was cracked up to be originally, I don't think. He did say, didn't he, it would be a sort of secret location, but that obviously hasn't worked. But this secret location just happened to have a ring set up with lighting and sort of just a lot of tables about and stuff. I don't think it worked. It was a good idea, and it's good that they tried it, but it wasn't the right match to use that on.
I can see where they were coming from, and there were lots of spots that I enjoyed, but again, I think it was like 35 minutes, and I know they're trying to find things to fill in the time, but it just didn't work, and that ending didn't really work with me either.
I hated the ending. I really didn't like it. The idea that these guys have been fighting for say 35 minutes, and that's the ending. It's really deflating.
Yeah, it's deflating from the point of view, I think, that fans have been wanting this match now for, I think, a year and a half, 2 years, and lots of things happened in between, and we had face Tommaso Ciampa after his neck injury, and Johnny Gargano and him started getting along, and then they started fighting again. But the ending to all of that and how epic this entire feud was, this was the first time where I thought, it doesn't work. And with that too, with that ending, why would you wear a cup and stuff and make it kind of a joke, silly finish? Like, I get it that you got the upper hand on him, which is fair because, both people have been getting upper hands on each other. But to have that happen, it just kind of, it felt like it ended on a joke. And I feel that these two wrestlers who are supposed to hate each other from our perspective, it just didn't seem like that was the end-all be-all. Like, again, back to what Triple H was saying, we're going to stick you into this secret location. There's going to be a ring there. Two of you are going to walk in. One of you is going to walk out. Well, that didn't happen. They both walked out of the building, and then they beat the crap all over the wherever. And I think it was Candice LeRae that got involved there at the end.
Yeah, it didn't work.
No.
The match itself was good, and I feel like if it was shot normally, it would have been really good. Apart from the ending.
Yeah.
I think the match would have benefited from just being a match, I think.
Yeah, they probably could have gone 15, 20 minutes and it would have been perfect. I think the whole 35-minute thing just dragged it out.
Because the guys were good.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was a great match.
Yeah, but it was just sort of spoiled a bit. It was overdone, and the ending was rubbish. So I'd say it was the worst match that they've had because they've had a few.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one too.
It's just because the quality's been so good up to this point, and it's sort of a dampener, you know.
It well, just goes to show that the pre-recorded matches and stuff, they can't work everywhere.
No, no. Usually they.
Now, yeah, usually. Now, how do you feel about the six-woman ladder match, though? Because I was quite interested in that.
It was good. Again, I'm going to complain because I wanted Candice to win, but the match was great. I think Chelsea Green sold that leg injury quite well. I'm not a big fan of Robert Stone, but you know, maybe Chelsea's not good at talking yet. I don't know. I've not really heard much of her, but I think everyone did their part quite well. I don't think anyone really didn't impress me in the match. And Io, although it's not Candice, it's a good choice. And that's going to be a good match with Charlotte, I think, as well.
I wanted Io Shirai to win this match, but I didn't think she would. I thought it might have been Chelsea Green or Dakota Kai or maybe even Mia Yim. But I had no idea that they were going to bank on Io Shirai, and I wanted Io Shirai versus Charlotte Flair so bad. Like I was looking in the ring of the six women that were competing, and I was like, okay, we have six women here. If this person wins, how will this match against Charlotte Flair go? Because Charlotte Flair can essentially work with anybody and put on amazing matches. But I felt who might have the best chemistry or who would have the best back and forth, and I thought Io Shirai would just be so chaotic in that. It would be such a shot in the dark, but I think it would work so well that I think it intrigued me the most. And the fact that she won blew my mind.
Yeah, it's quite a contrast in styles. They're completely different. So it's going to be quite an interesting match. I hope it's good. I'm ready for it, I think.
Yeah, I am too. Did they put a date for that match?
No, I think they just said next opponent. I don't think they said when.
All right. I mean,
I didn't pick up on that.
who knows with everything that's going on? Now, before NXT, I always watch AEW. I watch AEW live, and then I catch up on NXT later on in the night. And I mean, I have all the time in the world now to catch up on things. But you watched AEW last night as well, didn't you?
I watched it. I watched it a couple of hours ago. I watched NXT live.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so I did the opposite of you.
So now, when the ladder match was going on NXT, Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida knocked it out of the freaking park with, I think, the best women's match that AEW has put on to date. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I wouldn't say the best, only because of a few things that sort of annoyed me. Again, every time Britt Baker's on, it just annoys me.
I love her, man.
No, she's great. She's great, but it's just we know that she's a dentist. We know that it gets mentioned all the time, and it's not anything that's applicable to the match usually. You know, it's a completely separate thing. Shida as well is 7-2 this year, and to my knowledge, she's not had a title match. I don't understand that. Well, she's 8-2 now, actually. The match was great. Britt obviously got hurt. I think she broke her nose, didn't she?
I think so. That was a bloody mess.
Yeah, but thankfully it was to the end of the match. So I don't know whether she had any like concussion or anything from that, but I thought the last few minutes were a bit sluggish. But that's understandable when something like that happens, I think.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed with the match in general.
Just imagine how good the match would have been had the audience been there, because I think the audience would have been roaring from that match.
Yeah. Did you notice later on in the show? Sorry to go off on a bit of a tangent, but they were showing the women's rankings, and I can't pronounce the name. Yuka Sakazaki
Oh yes.
is I believe 1-1 wins to losses, and she's number 3 in the rankings. Okay, and Chris Statlander is 2-3, so she's negative in the wins to losses, and she's actually above Sakazaki, and I struggle to understand how that works, because it's the same with what I'm saying here. Hikaru Shida winning this match goes to 8-2, and she doesn't get a title match. And I don't know, do you have any sort of understanding of why that is? Or
Well, I do know that Hikaru Shida is in next line against Nyla Rose. And I know they're doing their best by trying to go through the rankings. So right now, Hikaru Shida is the number 1 contender for Nyla Rose, and she will be facing the women's champion at some point. So that's what we know at home. As for Chris Statlander and Yuka Sakazaki, the whole 2-3-1-1, the only thing I can guess from there, because I don't know how they're running their rankings. I don't know if they have a certain formula backstage or some sort of algorithm, or if they have plans, or they're just doing it. But I think 2 over 3 wins is possibly better than 1-1, because yes, you have a 50-50 there with percentage-wise with 1-1, but I think the 2-3 is almost like this person's won 2 big matches. It also could be, we don't know this at home too, like they could rank these matches by who they defeated. Like if Yuka Sakazaki got a win, but she defeated a jobber, let's say, and Britt Baker or Hikaru Shida, whatever, or Chris Statlander, they defeated somebody, with a higher stats like Riho or something like that, then maybe that win might equal more. I don't know how they do it, but Hikaru Shida is definitely in line next, and I really want her to beat Nyla Rose, but I think we're going to have Nyla Rose be the champion for a long time.
I can't say I'm the biggest fan. It just doesn't work for me. I don't know. No, I don't like the style. I'd rather Riho take it back. Actually, I know a lot of people. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't, but I would. And then I'd have Riho drop it to Shida, I think.
I honestly thought Riho was going to drop it to Shida at some point, but then they gave it to Nyla Rose.
Do you know, Cody did an interview a few months ago, and he said that Nyla Rose was one of the best wrestlers he'd ever seen in his life. I don't know how true that is, but that's what he said.
Well, let's hope that those words can be backed up, because as long as AEW gives Nyla Rose the opportunity to actually have 15-20 minute matches, like, I'm not saying people need to be busted open or do crazy moves, but if that is true and Cody Rhodes does truly believe that Nyla Rose is one of the best wrestlers that they have, then I have no doubt in my mind that they will give her the opportunity to prove that to the audience, because from what I've seen at AEW, they go above and beyond to try and get the audience to acknowledge these wrestlers, whether how big they are, how small they are, what their status is. They do their best to try and make everybody come out of it good. And I want to use that example to segue into the Best Friends versus Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa last night, because that match was fun. I had a lot of good time with that match.
Yeah.
And as silly as it was over the rights to being called Best Friends.
Yeah, the worst name in tag team history.
Yeah.
It's now being competed over.
But it was fun, because at the end they all came to hug each other, right? And it was just good. It was fun. And again, it's watching the Best Friends go and watching Kenny Omega go, and Michael Nakazawa is just, he's always the joke act, it seems. No offense to him, but every time he comes out, he's the joke act. And all that baby oil, oh my goodness, I would be afraid to touch him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a great match. What did you think of that match?
I thought it was good. It was nice to see Kenny team with someone who isn't Hangman. Just because it feels like, I don't know how much you watch New Japan.
I've started to. I was looking forward to Genesis, but as we know, it got canceled.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, but I don't know whether they do it as much now. They used to always have tag team matches, 6-man tags, 8-man tags.
Yes.
But the teams were almost like completely random. And sometimes you'd have tag team champions. Like, for example, Roppongi 3K would come out, and one of them would be on one team and one would be on the other. And it was a very sort of random lineup, and I really like that, because it's matches that you'd never expect to see. And I think that worked in this match as well, which is good, because it's a fresh match, because now we can have Kenny go against the best friends again, and it would be a completely different match. You know, it wouldn't be anything we've seen before.
Yeah, and the fact that they're able to take these chances right now to promote different matches, and what I mean by that is, at some point, pretty soon, I'm going to stop saying, well, given the situation, this match in WWE or this match in AEW or what they're doing, given the situation, I'm going to give them a pass. There's only so far I can do that. If WWE, AEW, NXT, they're all willing to keep pushing out content and try to give the best content they can have, well, then I'm just going to be just as critical as I was before. But in situations like this, where there is no audience and where people are stuck at home and understand the situation, AEW can slightly take advantage of that and be like, hey, Adam Page is at home, or this person's at home. Let's do something different. Let's team Kenny Omega with Michael Nakazawa. Or next week, let's have Chris Jericho again on commentary, because that was absolutely hilarious.
Amazing, yeah.
Or, and let's do these things. Or let's make a tournament like the TNT Championship, for example, like with Cody versus Shawn Spears. Like, I feel AEW is truly doing their best to stick to the storyline still, but also come up with fun, imaginative, creative ways that their audience is still saying, hey, this is fresh. And yes, it's not kind of, who knows, this whole best friends Kenny Omega thing could possibly turn into a story, but I think it was just a
spot, I think.
But tell me about Jericho on commentary, though. That was amazing.
Yeah, he had some weird lines, though, with that fork and all that sort of stuff. That was a bit weird.
And the educated feet. Oh, my. Him and Tony Schiavone they were excellent together.
What did he call him? Like Skivon or something?
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's crossed my mind now. It's like Skivone or
something. Yeah.
Yeah. He was having a time of his life, though, and like again, Cody Rhodes was amazing on commentary last week too. But Jericho just brings so much fun to it. Like he's a dick of a champ at times, but then he comes to commentary and he sheds so much laughter and like comedy bits, like even last week with Release the Hounds. Like, oh my gosh, like how can he go from such a dick heel to a hilarious heel? Like he's amazing.
He's a very funny guy. Imagine that commentary pairing.
It might just happen.
I hope it does. I hope that's Jericho's next move after he retires.
Him and Tony Schiavone, AEW Wrestling. Or sorry, AEW, not AEW Wrestling, that'd be AWW. But no, the show started off too with Jake Roberts cutting an amazing promo again, and it's true what they say out there. When that man speaks, you will listen.
Yeah, 100%. It's really intense, I think.
How are you liking the whole Lance Archer with Jake Roberts?
I don't know much about Lance Archer, to be honest. So this is my introduction to him, and I think it's very good. I don't think this week in particular did anything for him, because he just came out and beat up a jobber. Didn't really do anything. But I think in general so far, the push is going quite well. I'm quite invested in it. I think that Lance is going to be the first, whoever wins the TNT tournament, I think Lance is the first challenger.
Yeah, I think Lance Archer is definitely going to be in the finals of the TNT Championship.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to win it. I think someone like Darby Allin is going to win it. Or is Darby Allin still in?
Yeah, he's still in it, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my prediction. Then Darby Allin wins it. First challenger, Lance Archer. I don't know who's going to win that though. I've not decided.
My first exposure to Lance Archer was the G1 last year. And I became a massive fan of his in the G1, and just seeing him and his gimmick. He looks He reminds me, like, his character reminds me of some sort of like classic wrestling heel that just goes around and just demolishes everybody. He's this big badass, and I don't know what it is about him. I think he's an awesome character, and he has the whole package. And some of the crap that he can do with given his size is just awesome.
Yeah, he's the same height as Braun Strowman. You know,
Yeah.
he's a big guy.
Yeah, he is a big dude, and he's very, very talented. And I think the finals are going to be him and Cody for the TNT Championship.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it's what better way to introduce these two into a match when Cody is avoiding the match because he doesn't want to give Lance Archer a match because he's entitled to it, right? Cody wants him to earn it. So going through a tournament and then having Cody the challenger of that belt and saying, hey, I've never gotten the AEW championship. I can never have a shot at that championship again. So what better way for me to make this championship amazing? But Lance Archer is in his way. And honestly, it could go either way. If Lance Archer wins the TNT championship, what an excellent way to have him come into AEW. And if Cody wins, what an excellent way to give him that championship.
I'm just thinking, is Lance Archer one of those characters like The Fiend where they don't need a title?
Don't think I can answer that because I don't know enough about Lance Archer. I haven't been following him for that long. But in the year that I've watched him, I don't think so. Like, I don't think he's one of those characters like The Fiend where like a belt does him great. I mean, he's massive anyway. As long as they book him properly, a belt doesn't really matter. But I think that he would do really good with just carrying around a belt and showing how dominant he is. Because even if he won it, can you imagine Lance Archer versus Luchasaurus for the TNT Championship?
God. Oh, yeah, I want that now. I hadn't thought of that. But
I've been trying to think of, like, whoever won the championship, who would they face? Because if Cody won, who would you want him to face?
That's a tough one. I think Kenny. I think it's too late for Kenny to be a main eventer at this point. He's sort of been not wasted, but he's not really been given that push that I thought he would have been given. So I'd be happy to see Kenny win it, or Jake Hager maybe, or Sammy Guevara.
Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara would be really good too, yeah. And I can see Jake Hager with the belt as well. I can't wait to see how this tournament unfolds because I think whoever wins this tournament, I think we're also going to get a star out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's the best thing about tournaments.
You don't need to win the tournament to shine, really, do you? It's like the Cruiserweight Classic, guys like Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali, they didn't win it. But, you know, they came out there a lot better than they went in.
Yeah, and I think that was my first... was it the Cruiserweight Classic that had Kota Ibushi in it?
Yes.
I think that was my first ever exposure to Kota Ibushi, and then like a year later of that, I was watching New Japan. And I fell in love with Kota Ibushi. He's amazing.
Guy's insane.
He's absolutely, he's the whole friggin' package. Like he looks like he's cookie cutted out of a Tekken game. And he acts like one and moves like one. So it's like he's the whole package. And sorry?
It's scary how good he is. I don't think I've ever seen, because everyone has a bad match now and then. I don't think Kota ever has. Not to my knowledge. He wrestled a doll and it was good.
Really? I never saw that. That's funny.
He wrestled a blow-up doll, and the only move that the doll used was a Canadian destroyer, and he took about 15 of them. I'll have to find show you it. I can't believe you've not seen that.
You'll have to send that to me. That sounds hilarious. How are you enjoying, like, speaking of Chris Jericho and everything before, and moving on from the Lance Archer with Jake Roberts and the TNT Championship? Earlier we were mentioning Chris Jericho on commentary. I also want to know how you feel about the Chris Jericho and Matt Hardy feud right now.
It's quite exciting. I'm surprised we never really saw it in WWE. I'm worried that Matt Hardy's not going to be quite as good as TNA and WWE, only because there's a lot of other characters that outshine him, I want to say. Like the Inner Circle, all that stuff's really entertaining right now. Even the comedy guys like Best Friends and Orange Cassidy and all that. there's a lot going on right now, and I'm worried that he's gonna be just the same as everyone else, because these companies are going for a lot of these cinematic, matches, and that's Matt Hardy's thing, isn't it? He really started it with the final deletion in TNA.
Yep.
I'm worried that it's just going to be a case of, oh, there's another one, and I don't want that because he doesn't deserve that, really.
Well, I've noticed over the years, over my old age, I've noticed that WWE is the company that makes me worry. I don't mean to be mean, I don't mean to knock them down, I don't mean to compare them, but all of the weird booking comes from WWE mostly. And AEW has pretty much convinced me that I don't have very much to worry about because I've enjoyed pretty much everything that's come from them since they started. And I think they're going to use Matt Hardy to the best of their ability. Will it be as good as TNA? Maybe, maybe not. But he's also a lot older now, and he can only do so much. And it's not, TNA was in a spot where it was, and AEW is where it is now. So it all depends on what works, what doesn't work. But I think we're going to see Matt Hardy actually remove Jericho from television
Really?
Because that was the rumor. A little while ago, that was the rumor that he was going to be going on tour with Fozzy. I mean, obviously nobody's going on tour right now with the situation around the world, but there was rumors about Chris Jericho taking time off, and that's why he was going to lose the title to Jon Moxley, because he was going to be going on tour for a bit. But now, and then Jericho comes in and says, it's my reason, it's up to me, but the audience is no longer here. He's not mentioning the situation around the world. He's saying, it's up to Chris Jericho whether the audience comes or goes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Matt Hardy is going to come into AEW and quote unquote save it. I mean, he's going to delete Chris Jericho, and then after he deletes Chris Jericho, the audience will come back. They're kind of work it into a story.
Yeah. That's quite smart. I didn't think of that. Because WrestleMania ruined that straight away, because Stephanie McMahon just came out and did a big speech. There's not been any of that, has there?
Nope. They've just been chugging like a train, and just apparently they've recorded stuff up until Double or Nothing, which actually news broke today that event is
cancelled.
It might Double or Nothing might not even be happening.
Yeah, they've. Is it the MGM Grand Arena?
Yes.
They shut down everything, didn't they? They've cancelled all events till the 31st of May.
Yep. So I mean, we might have a pre-recorded Double or Nothing, or who knows what they'll do, but that's where the finals of the TNT Championship was supposed to happen as well. So who knows what's going to happen with Double or Nothing? And I think next week we're getting Jon Moxley versus Jake Hager for the championship, right?
Yeah, I believe, is it next week?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh.
I could be wrong, but I think it is next week. How are you enjoying that feud?
I'd rather it be Jericho, but I can understand why it's not. It's just that Hager was a bit of a joke in WWE, and there's you probably don't know about 5-Star Wrestling, do you? You probably haven't heard that.
The promotion or the star rating?
The promotion.
No, I haven't.
It was UK based, and there's a guy called Zach Gibson who's in NXT now. I don't know whether you've heard of him.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
They had a big feud, and I think Hager cut the worst promo I have ever heard in my life. And ever since then, I can't take him seriously. And it's my personal opinion, but I don't think he should be in this match. Like I say, I'd rather it be someone like Jericho or Guevara, But like I say, it's probably a good feud, but I'm just really biased. I'm willing to watch the match because I think it can be okay. Obviously, I think Moxley's going over. It wouldn't make any sense to put the title on Hager at the moment, but I'd rather it be someone else, I'm afraid.
Yeah, with Jake Hager, I'm lost on him, and that's partially WWE because of how they booked him. But at the same time, I've never really been a massive I've just never been a massive fan of him, and he doesn't really have the charisma. I don't get there's certain wrestlers out there, whether I like them or hate them, whether they're a badass heel or whatever, they can kind of like you can kind of get behind them or kind of understand where they're coming from, or they have charisma, or they grab you, like they grab your attention, right? And Jake Hager just doesn't do that for me. But I see it as some sort of just, some challenger that Jon Moxley has to get through before he gets to a really important feud. No offense to Jake Hager. It's just, it seems like the feud isn't as well. They're doing as much as they can with the feud, again, given the situation, as they can't see each other, there can't be any people around the ring, and they can't do like in-ring promos. But one thing that made me it made me laugh so much last night when I was watching the promos between him and Jon Moxley. And I think it was his wife. His wife said that if he doesn't win the championship, he's not allowed to come home.
Yeah, I thought that's a bit mean.
Yeah, I was like, what is that? I was like, that's not very nice. I mean, where's he supposed to go? That's not a very nice wife.
He never won when he was the All-American, did he? I think. No. God, I feel bad for him now. All those sleepless nights, sort of sitting outside his house because he lost to Jinder Mahal or something like
that. It was. I can't believe they said that though. Like even I know he's a heel, and I know Jon Moxley is the face here, but even as a heel, you made your wife look like not a very nice person, and that's putting it lightly. If Jake Hager doesn't come back with the gold or the championship or not, he's not coming inside. This is how we work in this household. Winners are important and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what is this? What is this? I can't get behind that at all.
I hope they don't have kids.
Right?
Yeah. How did you do in the race? I came third. Right.
Yeah.
Just staying outside.
Yeah. Just imagine, like little 5-year-old Billy. Daddy, look what I did. I came third. Get out. Don't come home ever again. Like... I know I'm over exaggerating it, but it's how it was presented. I was like, wow. If I ever had a wife that said, don't come home unless you have the championship, I'd be like, yeah, find yourself a new boyfriend, bye. Or a husband. Like, you're gonna expect a lot of failure in this marriage, so get used to it. Oh my, that really cracked me up. Now, we have about 5-10 minutes left here or so. I'm curious to know what you think of Raw and SmackDown before we go off air.
In general, good. I thought, especially Asuka and Liv Morgan surprised me.
Yes, they did.
And also Apollo Crews as well, that guy. I don't think he's ever had a match that long. And that was the best match I've seen him in since coming up to the main roster, I think. The last very good match I saw him in was in NXT against Baron Corbin about 5 years ago now. So I'm glad that it's been recognised that he's actually really good.
It took 5 years for them to recognise how good Apollo Crews is?
It's something like that. When it might be 3 or 4 actually.
Well, it certainly feels like it. 5. Apollo Crews is amazing, and that's why I say things like that, or Apollo, or however they're calling his name. But yeah, he's been so underused for so long, and he was starting to. It seemed like a few years ago when he was down in NXT, he was starting to get a little push, and then we're going to start to use him, and then he just got shot up to the main shows and forgotten about, or jobbed out.
He got a push for about 2 months, I think, when he first came up. And then they forgot about him. And every now and again, they give him a little nudge, don't they? They sort of, you can win this Battle Royal, and he'll get an IC title match and lose it, and then he'll go away again. But I hope that this leads to something big, maybe winning one, or at least not losing and then just going away for 2 months. That he doesn't need that.
How do you feel about Braun Strowman being the Universal Champion?
I don't know how I feel because I've always wanted it, but like in the way that it happened, I don't think it was. It's like he's had a lot of matches, against Brock Lesnar, and every time he's had one of those matches, I've been on his team. I wanted to win that one, but with this, I just thought, really, is this the time? No, all those storylines he's been in and lost. And the time he wins is when there isn't one. And I think it was a bit wasted. I think they probably should have had, not Roman, but maybe a lookalike, maybe one of the Usos with a fake tattoo or something, I'm not sure. But just have him get beaten up by Strowman at WrestleMania, and then maybe Raw after or the week after, whatever, do it then. Because it's all the same set of tapings, isn't it? I think they taped a few weeks ahead.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, up until actually this Friday, tomorrow. Yes, we're recording on a Thursday to break the magic. But yes, tomorrow on Friday is they stopped fully recording after NXT yesterday. So now they've recorded SmackDown, I believe, from what I've heard, but I'm not sure what else is going forward. They might be doing live shows now come tomorrow night and Monday.
Yes, yeah, I would have played it out even just a week, just to have some sort of reason, you know. And they might say something, oh, he was, you know, number 2 contender or whatever, but it doesn't make sense because they don't follow that narrative. AEW, if it happened there, you know, they've got a list of 5, haven't they? So,
Yep.
For example, Roman gets injured, I think it's what they said, or did they say anything? They just sort of changed it. I'm not sure.
They didn't say anything. Roman just was like, he was pulled out of the match because of health concerns. But
Yeah.
that's the news. But as for WWE, I'm pretty sure they just said he had to pull out, and then the reason was just assumed because he was being careful with his cancer, or with his having cancer in the past, and you know he has to stay safe and everything.
So in AEW, with the way they structure it, although I did complain a little bit about it before, it's very good in the sense that any decision that's made makes more sense. You know, sometimes WWE like to have a match, and then on the pre-show of the pay-per-view, they'll decide, oh no, we want a triple threat match. I think it happened to Ty Dillinger, and I just thought, why did he need to be in the match? He's got no reason, you know. But with this, if they want to change it, they've got a list of people who it makes sense for to put in there. And I think if there was a structured system like that, and we knew that after Roman it was Braun, I wouldn't have minded. But there was absolutely zero reason, and it was just a bit stupid. And the match itself, it's just a typical Goldberg match. There's nothing really new there. So it was wasted. I'm happy with the result, but could have been done a bit better, I think.
I agree with that too. I think what happened was WWE was pretty frazzled because of everything that happened. They had already pre-recorded a bunch of things. And like, for instance, I think it was the week before on SmackDown, Triple H was talking about Roman Reigns and Goldberg match, while given a couple of days before that episode of SmackDown, it was announced Roman Reigns was pulled out. We knew almost 2 weeks ahead of Mania that Roman Reigns wasn't going to be facing Goldberg, but we didn't know that officially on the show until like the night before. So I think the recording plans were just they didn't have really much room that what they could do. But even then, I would have just canceled the match at WrestleMania and then recorded it for SmackDown. And I would have just made a little segment of just saying anybody coming out. Oh, you know, my opponent had to pull out for whatever reason, blah blah blah. You know, who's back there? You know, who's going to give me a challenge? And then, you know, Braun Strowman comes out. Anything, just because. Yeah, I'm with you. I was so behind Braun Strowman a year or 2 years ago when he was dominating Kevin Owens, when he was teaming with Nicholas. Like that was like he was dominating people and pushing over trucks, or you know, he was just being dominant. There was so much momentum behind Braun Strowman. And then what killed it was the whole Brock Lesnar Baron Corbin thing when Saudi Arabia, when I think Baron Corbin was a special guest referee or something, and he hit Braun Strowman with the title, and it was, or was that Roman Reigns? I can't remember now. There's just they all go together. The Saudi Arabia events to me, but it's just the timing for Braun Strowman and how it happened does not make sense in any shape or form, because he had just lost the IC title. He had never earned anything. He was just told that he was getting this match, that situation is very confusing because, again, the pre-recorded things, and I can actually give WWE a little leeway with that because I can't imagine how many things they pre-recorded, and then they were like, oh crap, this happened. What are we gonna do? We've already sent the tapes off. What are we gonna do? And they just kind of did what they could do. So as you say, the right result. It was completely baffling. But hopefully on SmackDown tomorrow night, Braun Strowman will come out and we'll start something amazing.
Oh, hopefully, yeah. I'm hoping that they make a sort of, a lot of people come out and they complain and they say, no, I deserve it because I beat this guy and that guy and all that. Like, if Cesaro comes out, for example, and he says, oh, well, I want a match on the pre-show, where's my match? And then Otis and all them come out. Otis comes out, says, I want a match. Strowman hasn't really done anything. He's just lost the title. And then they have a big match. We get a winner, and then we have a feud straight away. I'm worried that they are going to ignore it and just treat it like any other title win, which would be unfortunate. But that's normally the way it goes when something weird like this happens. Like Goldberg beat The Fiend, just started a reign, didn't really gloss over the fact that he's just beaten The Fiend.
I didn't like how Goldberg treated The Fiend. I think the whole situation just sucked the life out of me. Like Goldberg beating The Fiend and saying like I'm not scared of you and stuff like that. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, Goldberg, just go with it. Like even if you're not actually scared, nobody's actually scared of The Fiend, but just go with it. Make the kids believe. Like I know you're this superhero to all the kids, but even superheroes can get scared and have their own kryptonite, right? So I'm thinking too much about it, but you know what though? It's been a great podcast chatting with you because I can't believe that we're at the end of our time already.
Go quick.
It did go by quick, but I did really enjoy myself, and I hope to have you on again because this is a lot of fun. Just chatting wrestling, keeping our spirits up with everything that's going around the world. It's nice to be able to talk about wrestling and how we and how we're perceiving it.
Yeah, it's something to do, I think.
Yeah, it definitely gives us something to do and stuff to look forward to. And before we wrap things up here, just before we do, I want to let just every wrestling company out there that's still trying their best to put on any content for their audience. I applaud you a million times over because right now you're not expected to, and you're certainly not essential, but you're doing everything you can to keep your wrestlers, your employees, and your camera crew, everything safe in this time. So it's really, really nice to see that. And with that, that's where we'll wrap things up. Thanks to everyone who continues to listen to the podcast. If you want to hear your voice on here, simply send me a PM on any of my social media. You can find me at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, and you can now search us up on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. Lewis, do you have any social media you want to put out there?
My YouTube channel, Digital Brit Rest. I'm doing, in the absence of real shows, I'm working with British independent shows and putting on digital ones. So check that out.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for sharing it. And with that, this has been LMP, and we are signing off.